Man, hasn't Laurie Strode suffered enough? Well, of course she hasn't. What kind of stupid ass question is that? Which is why 3 years after a massive success of Halloween 1978, they decided to make a sequel in Halloween 2. This movie tells yet another tale of Laurie Strode trying to avoid the dangerous serial killer Michael Myers. Only in this one, we get a little bit more backstory as to why it's Laurie Michael is after. And believe it or not, this was supposed to be it. This was supposed to be the end of the Michael Myers timeline. It's just supposed to be 2 movies with Michael, and then that's it. And then the Halloween franchise would move on to basically just like doing spooky stories every once in a while. And then they made Season of the Witch, and everyone hated it, and they were like, hey, where's Michael? Bring him back. Season of the Witch was stupid, and they're like, alright, fine, and they brought him back, and yeah, a lot of shitty movies came after that, unfortunately. This was not a shitty movie, though. This was a great movie, and is arguably, to this day, still the best sequel in the entire Halloween franchise. This movie also got a bit more of a budget than the first one. The first one had a budget of in between $300,000 and $500,000, while this one had a budget of $2.5 million. It very surprisingly, though, made about only half the money that the original movie did in its original run, which is very unusual for a high-profile sequel. They did put that extra money to work, though, as the kills in this movie were a little bit more evolved than the first movie. While the first movie focused more on stealth and strangulation kills, there was actually a lot more blood and a bit more gratuitous violence in this one. Something that was possibly influenced by Friday the 13th, which was released just a year earlier. But with all these people bleeding to death, will Laurie be one of them? Well, we're about to find out as we take a look back at Halloween 2, 1981. Hey, do you like films picking up immediately after they left off? Well, oh boy, do I have a treat for you, as this movie picks up literally during the ending of the first film. And in case you didn't see that ending, Michael sits up, goes all choky, Loomis shoots him 6 times, and then Michael vanishes. We then go to a first-person view of Michael, who watches Loomis get picked up by the police, screaming about how he shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times! Michael then sneaks into an elderly couple's home, and aw man, is he gonna kill these old people? Haha, no, he's just gonna steal their knife. Teenage girls is more his specialty. Oh, look at that, he found one. Also, you can magically see Michael's eyes through his mask now, and I don't really like it. I think the eyeless look makes him look a little bit more like a demon, but the mask will make sense a little bit later, trust me. Anyway, the police and a lot of media have descended on the scene, and Laurie gets taken in an ambulance to the hospital. Also, I wanted to throw this in here. They show this kid who's being taken to the hospital by his mom because he bit into some Halloween candy and ate a razor blade, which was a popular myth in the 80s. I don't think there was actually ever a recorded case of someone actually ever eating a razor blade, but for some reason everybody believed that because it was the 80s and everybody was awful, I guess. Anyway, Laurie seems to be quite popular at the hospital. Literally everybody knows who she is, and they decide to put her under to give her some stitches, despite her protesting them not to. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett, meanwhile, are fighting like an old married couple until Loomis sees someone walking down the road in the same mask Michael has. Loomis then chases who he thinks is Michael into the street with a gun, and Michael, quote-unquote, is run over by a cop car, which crashes into a van, which explodes, which burns him alive. And after that whole thing goes on, Sheriff Brackett gets the unfortunate news that his daughter Annie was one of the murder victims. Back in the hospital, meanwhile, one of the paramedics, Jimmy, is creeping on Laurie and crushing on her, and I guess it's supposed to be cute, but it's kind of fucking creepy, I'm not gonna lie. Bad times continue for Sheriff Brackett, meanwhile, as he arrives at the murder scene and identifies his daughter's body. The sheriff knows he's gotta go home and inform his wife, so he leaves his deputy, Gary Hunt, in charge to help Loomis. Meanwhile, some kid is listening to the radio on his boombox, and Michael catches word that Laurie's been taken to the hospital, so guess where he's going? Michael begins to infiltrate the hospital, which unfortunately, the oblivious security guard does not see on the monitor. Jimmy, meanwhile, goes to talk to Laurie again and informs her that Michael Myers was the one chasing her around the whole time, which makes you think, oh yeah, I guess she didn't know the entire time who was actually trying to kill her. The head nurse comes in and shoos Jimmy away and tells Laurie they can't get in touch with her parents, and that apparently the phones have been disconnected. That's not at all suspicious. One of the nurses informs the security guard, and he goes out to investigate what's going on. He finds that somebody has broken into the hospital, but stop! Hammer time! Loomis and the deputy, meanwhile, examine the body with the coroner of the dude they accidentally killed, and the coroner tells them that it's likely a 17-year-old kid. They then go to the Myers house, which rioters are throwing rocks at, and they learn from a couple of kids that Ben Tramer has gone missing, and they connect the dots. That's right, Ben Tramer, the guy who Laurie had a crush on in the first movie, was the guy who died in that fiery inferno, so sucks for him, I guess. Speaking of Laurie, she's starting to have flashback dreams about her mother telling her that she was adopted, and also her being in some kind of hospital and looking at a little boy in a chair, but I'm sure that's nothing to be concerned about, it's just dreams. Perfectly oblivious to what's going on, meanwhile, paramedic Bud and his girlfriend Nurse Janet decide to have sexy time in a hot tub. His hot tub ain't hot enough though, and Michael decides to turn up the heat. Bud goes to check it out, and Michael decides to do a strangulation kill for old time's sake. And now comes undisputedly the most brutal kill in the movie, and one of the most brutal kills in the entire franchise. Michael grabs Janet from behind and just starts dunking her head in the hot tub. And he's dunking her in there as the heat is rising and her skin starts peeling off her face, and she dies from a combination of burn wounds and drowning, and it is fucking brutal. So meanwhile, Loomis and friends go to the elementary school where Michael broke into and left a knife and wrote about Irish Satan on the wall or some shit, I don't know. Marion Chambers, though, Loomis's assistant from the first movie, shows up with some important news. Loomis has been ordered by the governor to return to the insane asylum where he works, and a deputy marshal is there to take him. Meanwhile, Jimmy goes to check on Laurie again, and alright dude, it's getting really fucking creepy at this point, like you need to calm down, but he finds that she's in some kind of trance. This prompts one of the nurses to go find the head Dr. Mixter. To correct a mistake from earlier also, this is Nurse Janet. Nurse Karen is the one who got hot tubbed. Janet is still alive, at least for the moment, and she finds the doctor, although he's not really that alive, and she's not about to be either. After Michael's done with that, he finally comes across Laurie's room, which means it's stabby time. But joke's on you, bitch, Laurie's too smart for that, and she already made her way out. Laurie makes her way into another room, which she hides in, as Michael searches for her throughout the hospital. Jimmy and Nurse Jill, meanwhile, finally discovered that they're the only ones left, and they decide to split up and search for Laurie. Jimmy finds the head nurse dead with a pool of blood next to her, and then his dumbass slips in it, and he knocks himself out. Jill, meanwhile, is trying to dip. What the hell, man? You were supposed to search the other area. Karma's a bitch though, asshole, cause guess whose car won't start? With no other choice, Jill goes back into the hospital and immediately finds Laurie. She's rewarded for this by literally being stabbed out of her shoes. And now it's time for a good old-fashioned chase scene. So Michael chases Laurie down some stairs into the underground area where she climbs through a window to barely avoid him. Laurie gets stuck in an elevator that she has to wait for though, but luckily for her, Michael moves at a top speed of 2 miles per hour and she's able to get in there and escape into the parking lot. She then just gets into a random car and just hides in there, because I mean, what else is she gonna do? So meanwhile, Loomis is on his way back to Smith's Grove with Marion and a marshal, but Marion has some very important information for him. Turns out Laurie is actually Michael's little sister, who was adopted by the Strodes after Michael murdered her parents. This prompts Captain Crazy Pants to pull a gun on the deputy marshal and demand he take him back to the hospital. Back at the hospital, turns out Laurie was hiding inside Jimmy's car, but Jimmy is majorly concussed and passes out on the car horn. Good job, dumbass. So much for protecting Laurie, huh? Loomis and friends arrive at the hospital meanwhile, but Laurie finds her voice just too late to call out to them, and here's Mikey. Laurie runs over to the hospital doors, and Loomis is able to let her in just in time. Not one to be left out of a party though, Michael arrives to give a TED talk on why doors are fucking stupid. But luckily Loomis came prepared and he shoots him 6 more times, or actually it might have been 5 times that time, but who cares, Michael's dead, right? Yeah, no. And now it's time for chase scene 2, Electric Boogaloo. Loomis and Laurie go and hide inside a room, which it doesn't take Michael too long to find. He smashes through the door and Loomis's gun jams, which promptly gets him a scalpel for the stomach. Luckily, Loomis also gave Laurie a gun, and she's got perfect fucking aim, I guess, because she shoots Michael twice through each of his eyes. Told you that mask would make sense later. But just because Michael can't see, doesn't mean he can't stab. But again, he can't see, so Laurie and Loomis use gas canisters to fill the room with gas, obviously, and also to create a noise to confuse Michael. Laurie escapes the room and Loomis realizes what he has to do, and he lights the whole room ablaze, killing them both. But psych! Guess who's not dead? Alright, no, just kidding. Double psych, he's actually dead. And that's pretty much it as new paramedics arrive to take Laurie to a different hospital, hopefully one with less murder. The movie then ends with the song Mr. Sandman playing in the background over Michael's body slowly burning. So, happy ending, I guess. So this was a great sequel, but was it possibly better than the first one? Well, let's find out as we pull up our first ever Halloween big board. Man, I've been doing so many new movies recently, it's been a while since I've had a big board. Let's get down to business. This was a great sequel, again, arguably the best Halloween sequel, you could argue that. And if you watch Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 back to back, it's basically just one 3-hour movie, only a 3-hour movie where Michael magically gets a new mask with eyes halfway through, but just ignore that. But wow, it was a great second half, that's basically all it was, a second half to an existing movie, and there wasn't really anything unique about it compared to the first movie, which is why I can't logically say that this was better than the original. So here's the start of our Halloween big board. Halloween 1978, number 1, Halloween 2, 1981, number 2. Man, and to think this was gonna be it, and to be honest, considering what came after, we might have been better off. I mean, this wasn't the only good Halloween sequel, you know, Halloween H2O was good, the new one was good, I personally liked Halloween 4, but was that worth it for Halloween 5, Curse of Michael Myers, Resurrection, and both the Rob Zombie movies? I don't know about that. I really don't. And again, with the original intention of this being it, for the next movie they went to a whole new universe with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And is that movie good? Well, no, it's not, which is why they brought Michael back in Halloween 4, but we'll get to that next time on Halloween Look Back. And unfortunately, the ending to this movie was kind of damaged by Halloween 4, because in Halloween 4 they retconned it and brought Michael, and spoiler, also Dr. Loomis back. And don't get me wrong, I was happy these terrible sequels at least had Donald Pleasance, but I mean, come on, Michael I can understand surviving, but Loomis survived that fiery explosion? I don't know about that one, Chief. But in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this was a great sequel, a great second half to the first movie. And again, we would have been probably better off if we had left it here. This movie series, I should say, is currently in its 5th timeline, with the new timeline, which is going to be a trilogy of Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. They actually just a couple days ago released a trailer to Halloween Kills. I thought Halloween 2018 was really good, so hopefully they don't fuck up the rest of this timeline, and Halloween can probably and hopefully get a proper ending this time. They had a proper ending in 1981, but you just couldn't let it go, could you? You had to screw it up. But anyway, that's going to do it for my look back at Halloween 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you go to my main channel, Taff316, you can see the November schedule for this channel. But I'll just tell you, in November we are taking a look back at King Kong in 1976, also Captain America the Winter Soldier, Velocipaster, and The Conjuring. So there still will be some horror in November. I'm probably going to go back to Halloween and maybe Season of the Witch maybe in January, because it's going to be Christmas stuff in December. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. All my other social media links as well as my main channel are in the description down below. Thank you to all 55 of my patrons named in the description for supporting me and both my channels. With all that being said, my name is Taff316. This has been my Halloween look back at Halloween 2 1981, and I'll see you guys next time.